Welcome back to my channel and welcome to the new year, 2022. I think this is my first video of this year. I wanted to share two games, not entire games, but parts of two games with you today. One of which I beat someone rated more than 200 points higher than me. I've probably mentioned before, but I play a lot of daily games, which I don't mean game per day, but on chess.com they use the term daily to refer to correspondence chess, where each player has a day or more, sometimes as many as 14 days for each move. The reason that I do daily games is because sometimes I don't have 10 minutes to play a rapid game, but when I do get to check in on my device, I can make one move and go on. Anyway, I'm rated about 1300 in daily, and in one of the tournaments that I was in, I ran into a person rated at 1550 something. And this was one of my games against that opponent in which I did not win. So I'm just going to take you through it, because in these tournaments you tend to play the same opponent twice. Once as white and once as black. When I played as white, we ended up with this locked position. These four pawns locked in the center, which renders our bishops nearly obsolete. He tried to break it open and succeeded. We each made a few mistakes and or inaccurate moves in this position, and he succeeded in unlocking one of his bishops. And here the computer definitely says I should either bring this knight over to guard my knight, that one's under attack, or bring the queen here to guard it. And instead I brought the bishop up to guard it, and that turns out to be a huge blunder. And the reason, I think, it's not just that, but my queen is lined up here, and I'm not sure exactly what the problem in this position is, but where I lost was in just a couple of moves. After my opponent makes what the computer says is a mistake, I made the following mistake. I first determined this: my queen is under attack, and can't move forward because of that pawn, so I only have three choices. So I have to determine which one of those three squares is best for my queen. And in order to do so, I thought, well, what do I want to do after that? And I thought, well, my bishop can't really go anywhere, kind of like his bishop is stuck against this pawn. My bishop is, I guess I could trade here, but I thought, what I do next will help me decide where to put the queen. And I thought it would be cool if I could somehow reroute this knight then up to here, and maybe even up to here, where it would be locked in with this pawn, would threaten this pawn, put pressure over here. So I thought I could continue guarding the front knight while I move this knight here. And as I was contemplating that, I decided, yep, let's do it. And instead of first moving the queen, I moved my knight, and we get this position. So yeah. And I figured there was no point in continuing on that game, so I resigned. Now, the game that I'm more proud of started out as a Carol Khan, which we ended up with this position about halfway through the game, in which I did a great move according to the computer. I'm not sure exactly why it's great, other than the fact that my queen was currently under threat, but I captured a piece and put the opponent in check. And then I followed it up with a mistake, according to the computer. I didn't think it was a mistake. I thought, this bishop is guarded by the knight. I'm now threatening his knight. And I was also guarding this spot, because I saw that even if he didn't get my queen over here, he could still do this fork. But I guess I didn't see that. Anyway, we both made some minor mistakes, but the computer evaluation shows us pretty close to even throughout this. And we're even on material. And until this, let's see, there's the rook trade. Where do I go up on material? I know we made a lot of, that's where I went up on material. He traded a rook for my bishop. And maybe he thought my bishop was too powerful. Let's back up. On this long diagonal, and also my bishop is cutting off this square. My idea is that if he ever moves his queen, which is right now protecting this rook, then I have checkmate, because my bishop is guarding this square. So maybe that's why he thought it was worth it, or maybe it was just a blunder. Maybe he didn't realize that it was protected. I don't know. But I do know that at this point I'm up a bishop, or a rook for a bishop. So 2 points of material. And I decided to play as carefully as possible after this, making sure all my pieces were guarded, or, yeah, this knight is not guarded, but it's also not under threat. So I pin his knight to his queen, but he moves his queen. Now he's threatening my knight, so I guard my knight. He tries to get his king out of that dangerous situation. And again, both of us, even though the computer doesn't like all these moves, both of us are making careful positional moves, trying to make sure squares are guarded and pieces are protected, or at least not in danger. Very careful, very careful. I'm not sure why that's not good. Okay, now here we start to get into some kind of danger, because he's coming here, and he's pointing at this, and he's pointing at this. So I decided I have to act, and I need to act fairly quickly. So I put him in check, thinking his only option is to move to one of these 3 squares, and then I can take another pawn. But I've got to, I have to move this soon. And moving it here is probably not the best option, because then he has that fork I was talking about earlier, especially if my queen's no longer on that diagonal. Anyway, I don't know about my opponent, but I know I put a lot of thought into this, trying to make sure that I'm either putting him in check or protecting my pieces. I guess it's a mistake that he came forward. Not sure what he was supposed to do in that situation, but I guess they wanted him to go back. That's my second great move of the game. And why I thought it was great is that it got my rook off of that square. Now it does put my rook back in danger of this fork. Wow, that's a bad arrow. It puts my rook back in danger of this fork. But I figured I could follow up on it. Or, since he's in check and has to move, I can be the one to take the knight. And again, I am up slightly on material, so a trade should benefit me. So when he moves out of check, I take the knight. Computer says it's not the best move. I mean, obviously I'm losing a knight here. But now I can't be forked here. I've already moved my rook out of danger. I know this is going to put me in check. And I know that he can follow up check. But if he does, I go in here. And then what can he do? But instead, he went there. That was the mistake that ended the game, because I know what his intention was. And his intention was that when he says check, now his king is blocking my escape squares and I have to go backwards. But instead, he blocked his own escape squares for when I said check. Now he can't go here because of my king. Can't go there because of my pawn. Can't go there because of my pawn. And of course, my queen is guarding these squares. So it leaves him only one place to go. And after lots of very slow, careful maneuvering, I was able to checkmate on move 38 and beat someone rated 240 points higher than me. So I was very proud of that. I wanted to share it with you. It wasn't a perfect game by any means. I did not have any blunders, but I did have 3 mistakes and a couple of inaccuracies. But anyway, thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the new year as much as I planned to.